Hey, your KPIs and your strategic priorities have to stack. What in the world does that mean? I'm going to break that down for you in just a second. If we haven't met yet, my name is Sturdy McKee. I help business owners make more profit and get control of their time. Now, let's look at this. So if I have a top line goal, right, a profit goal. Say I want my profit to be 20% of my gross revenue. That's my top line goal. What I have to do then is my KPIs that I give to individual employees, and the reason I'm bringing this up is that this is sometimes done completely erroneously, completely off the mark, arbitrarily, just to give people something to do, to measure something. You know, there's the adage, measure everything, but let's measure what's important. Let's focus, okay? So if I have this top line goal, what I want to do is have each of my people contributing to it, okay? So we'll use a rehab physical therapist as an example, but this will apply to anybody. You can do this in a cafe, you can do this in engineering, robotics firm. It doesn't really matter. What you're looking at is you figure out, well, how do you pay the bills? What does that? So if I have a PT, okay, they get paid on visits. Okay, maybe they don't, but the business does. Okay, so we get paid by visits or by case or what have you. So I'm going to set my number as the number of visits, right? And if I'm going to measure for effectiveness of what they're doing, I might measure like visits per case. Okay, what I then know, the other things I need to know is what's my revenue per visit. Okay, and if I want a 20% margin, I need to know my cost per visit, because my cost per visit also needs to equal the 20%, right? It's got to leave that margin for me. But ultimately, they've got to deliver because I'm paying them by the hour, I'm paying infrastructure, I'm paying overhead at a set rate, like my rent, my utilities, and all that stuff. So I've got to design it properly, but then I've got to give each individual something that builds up to the bigger picture. I'm not going to give them arbitrary numbers that we're going to hold them accountable to that do not directly contribute to whatever my top line target is, okay? Whatever my goal is. So let's take this off. We're going to talk strategic priorities because I see this one gets all kinds of convoluted. So if we set our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, number one, you can't be like the most premier brand or whatever. You have to ask, how are you going to measure it? Okay, so and we don't tend to, I'm not in love with setting like $1 million or a $10 million business or $100 million by whatever, because I need something that inspires, that drives the company, and not just like the money side, but the people side, the purpose, the reason we're there. So how about this? I want to help 1 million entrepreneurs increase their profit and get a control of their time. We'll say not just increase, but double their profit and gain control of their time. Okay? That's my big goal. Great. What do I do? Okay, what are the component parts for my strategic priorities? Well, I start going backwards. If this is something that's like 8 or 10 years, then I go backwards and say, okay, well, if I want to get there in 8 years, in 3 years, I want to have done what? Reached $250,000, 250K? Or something like that, 200K, because I'm going to continue to snowball and grow. So I'm going to set this number. This is kind of arbitrary, but what does that mean? Okay, what are the other strategic priorities that are going to go with that? Well, how about publish a book and sell to, remember, we got to have a measurable number, okay? Publish book and, 100,000 copies sold. Okay, online course with 50K enrollees. Okay, and then private clients and coaching and speaking and on, right? So, but we've got each of these things. What we're going to do is these are the component parts of that goal. But then we go back another level, all right? the 1 year. I'm going to erase this. Okay, we set our 3-year goal. I'm going to take the smaller stuff off. My 1 year has to move me toward my 3-year. And I might have 3 main items, right? I might have the book published, because I got to have it before I can sell it to people, right? Might have a course published, and then a certain number of speaking engagements and clients. You see how it feeds up to the next level. And then I have quarterly goals. Okay, this is the one that totally gets messed up and co-opted by people, especially in some organizations where the politics come into it, and I got my pet project and what have you, and this is actually one of the litmus tests, okay? So I've got the quarterly goals for this quarter, and I'm going to set up 3 goals that are going to move me closer to my 1 year. If they move me closer to my 1 year and I've laid that out properly, that's going to move me closer to my 3 year and closer to my big audacious goal in 8 to 10 years, okay? The thing about the quarterly goals is I see them get co-opted in these strategy days, not all the time, but frequently enough that it's a real issue. All right, so somebody has a pet project that they want to do and something that's important to them for whatever reason, and they're pushing that in your quarterly strategy day, and it becomes one of your strategic priorities that your business then devotes resources to accomplish. The question is, does it move us closer to the 1 year, the 3 year, and the big audacious goal? Okay. If you're not sure, then you say, well, how does it? Because there may be things that I don't see, right? Maybe things that you as the owner don't see, but somebody else says, well, this is how it contributes. Okay, fair enough. That sounds cool. But it's got to contribute, and they've got to make the case for it. So these are a couple things that I want you to think about. When you're setting KPIs for individual players, those KPIs, those metrics, those key performance indicators need to feed up to the business KPI, okay? The strategic priorities for this quarter need to feed up to the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5, 10 year goals as well. Hope that's helpful. If you're stuck with any of this, need any assistance, hit me up. This is what I love to do. Thanks.